A single figure knelt on the ground, panic etched across his face as confusion swirled in his mind. Qin questioned why the shadow was so fixated on him. Panic consumed him when he realized his had dropped below 400 days. Qin couldn't comprehend the reason behind this relentless decline. Qin struggled on the ground, surrounded by 4 figures, each intense in their ritualistic focus. Qin's brother urgently warned him about a blood-red flower growing on his corpse, which seemed to absorb something vital from him. A determined young man stood confidently among his followers, declaring that he would log off and return stronger. A field of ominous red flowers swayed gently against the backdrop of a sunset sky, casting an eerie glow. Qin contemplated the flowers, their unsettling beauty both captivating and foreboding. Qin stood amidst glowing flowers, observing the fallen figure on the ground, pensive about the consequences of player killing in the game. A bird soared through an orange sky, leaving shimmering trails of light behind, evoking a sense of mystery. Qin watched the bird as it flew away, intrigued by its graceful movement. A powerful owl with glowing eyes perched nearby, its presence overwhelming and awe-inspiring. A young man with dark hair observed the creature, feeling a mix of fear and admiration. He marveled at the power of the rank 1 player, Shadow, and felt terrified. A cloaked figure stood watchful, the tension in the air palpable as plans began to unfold. He instructed to monitor Song's return, confirmed that Song and his fans had logged off. He expressed his satisfaction, emphasizing the need for vigilance. A vibrant field of glowing flowers surrounded a young man with dark hair, his impatience palpable. He asked for permission to leave the conversation. An unseen figure paused, offering a powerful skill instead. A joyful response echoed through the field as the cheerful character agreed to wait in town. A grand building loomed under a cloudy sky, its clock tower casting an ominous shadow over the scene. Qin remained focused, contemplating the challenges ahead. A hooded figure stood confidently, offering a skill book to a startled female character. He claimed the skill book was worth 500 days of. She reacted with alarm, firmly rejecting the notion of selling herself. He insisted it was nonsense and only wanted her to join a team. A confident character gestured assertively, expressing determination to complain to the expert if the opponents were too weak. A cloaked figure spoke reassuringly as Qin prepared to contact someone, confidence radiating from him. A victorious young man with dark hair celebrated, his excitement palpable in the air, anxious and determined, prepared to cleanse his poison. A tense atmosphere filled the air as a confident woman raised her hands, channeling a glowing spell meant to cleanse the injured man before her. A wounded but defiant young man with dark hair stood tense, facing a glowing apparition while a frightened girl watched him in alarm. Rain poured down as an apologetic young woman covered her mouth, her expression revealing her embarrassment. Rain fell heavily as a defeated young man with dark hair collapsed to the ground, overwhelmed by despair. A spectral figure called out to him, filled with concern. Nearby, a worried woman stood with a staff, watching anxiously. A young man with dark hair expressed frustration about finding a replacement healer, feeling overwhelmed by the challenge. A determined and focused woman smiled brightly as she confidently played a game, already reaching level 4 with ease. A confident and assertive young man with dark hair suggested recruiting a hidden class priestess known for her strength. Then, an eager and supportive young man agreed to the idea. A tense atmosphere enveloped the room as a young man with dark hair nervously cleared his throat to get everyone's attention. A concerned young man with dark hair explained the dangers of Shell Town and decided to move to a higher-level zone for safety. Frustration hung in the air as a determined young man with dark hair ran ahead, leaving his companions behind, urged him to reconsider, but urgency propelled him forward. Another member of the group joined the escape, sensing the rising tension. The younger character expressed annoyance at being abandoned, their voice laced with irritation. A confident young man with dark hair gestured dramatically towards a cloaked figure, capturing the attention of those around him. A tense atmosphere settled as captain and introduced a new player, signaling a shift in the group's dynamics. Announced his presence with enthusiasm, eager to join the team. Qin felt a mix of curiosity and surprise as he evaluated the newcomer. A confident young man with dark hair stood before an eager young woman who approached him with admiration and enthusiasm. She shared her impressive past life achievements, expressing her admiration for him. He listened attentively, intrigued by her enthusiastic introduction. A confident young woman stood with her sword, playfully questioning Qin about his incredible leveling speed and jokingly suggesting he might be a time traveler. A tense deal unfolded as a cunning and calculating woman expressed concern over the secured for city's officials. A confident young man with dark hair assessed the cleverness of a charming woman as she engaged him with playful banter. A wave of panic surged through the crowd as two characters reacted urgently to a life-threatening game announcement. The excited young man shouted about the official announcement. The panic-driven young man was alarmed as he learned the TM's deadly stakes. He couldn't believe that if the reached zero, players would die in the real world. Desperation washed over him as he realized he had given away all his tradable. The atmosphere crackled with tension as two women argued fervently about their dwindling, while one held a phone tightly. One woman expressed her panic about having only a few years left. The other woman questioned how that was possible, insisting it didn't make sense. She claimed her own killer status had cost her much more than just a few days. The first woman countered, claiming she also had only a few years left. Frustration clouded her face as she gripped the smartphone tightly, overwhelmed by the shocking news of her impending death. She claimed to be a tank mage, frustrated with dying repeatedly in the game. She expressed disbelief about having only one day left. Panic surged within her as she insisted this couldn't possibly be true. A sudden shock rippled through the crowd as a young man with dark hair stared at his pink phone in disbelief. He reacted with surprise, unable to comprehend the unexpected message. A wave of excitement filled the air as a young man with dark hair eagerly shared news about Brother Song buying. He planned to seek Brother Song's help, believing it would lead to great things. His enthusiasm peaked as he imagined wearing Brother Song's support outfit. He remembered the buzz around Brother Song's latest product, the Song Ultra-Thin Anti-Leak. A surge of joy erupted as a young man with dark hair dashed toward Song, his excitement palpable in every step. A peaceful residential area unfolded, its buildings standing tall against the calm sky, creating a serene backdrop for the unfolding story. The young woman with surprised expression sat on her bed, staring at her phone in disbelief. She wondered if she was back to reality. Her astonishment grew as she calculated the value of her. She realized she had accumulated 200 days of life. Excitement bubbled within her as she imagined becoming a millionaire. A tense atmosphere enveloped the scene, as a young man with dark hair stared wide-eyed, shock coursing through him. A chilling realization swept over a young man with dark hair as he processed the horrifying news about Shadow's ruthless actions. He couldn't comprehend why Shadow wanted to kill Brother Song. A sense of urgency filled the air as a determined young woman rushed down the corridor. She called for help, urging others to sell their tradable lifespans. Her desperation grew as she realized Brother Song needed assistance. She recalled the 200 days of life she had saved up. The stakes were high, and she couldn't afford to hesitate any longer. A menacing lobster waved its claws, radiating fury. Qin stood alert, ready to evade the imminent threat. A cloaked figure surged with energy, unleashing a powerful wave that sent Qin flying through the air. A golden light enveloped a cloaked figure, marking a moment of triumph in the chaotic game world. He earned a significant level up, gaining powerful attributes and reputation points. A global announcement echoed through the game, declaring player Shadow as the first to reach level 10. Frustrated, Qin couldn't believe the overwhelming dominance of Shadow. He wondered how one player could achieve such power over billions. Qin stood by the water, contemplating his abilities with a concerned expression as he assessed the limitations of his tradable. Qin contemplated the requirements to leave the town, noting that 7 level 10 players were needed for the teleportation function to the abandoned continent of the gods. A cloaked figure stood on the beach, gazing out at the vast ocean, lost in deep thought. He considered how returning to reality might finally allow him to resolve unfinished business. Qin stood at the shore, gazing at the waves as they lapped at the sand, lost in his thoughts. Qin lay on the bed, staring upward with a thoughtful expression, lost in the depths of his contemplation. Qin lay on the bed, contemplating the glowing interface that promised power but came at a steep price. He confirmed his desire to consume the tradable. A radiant aura enveloped a confident young man with dark hair, signaling a transformative moment. He extracted a powerful new class, feeling an exhilarating surge of strength and agility. A brilliant blue energy enveloped a determined young man with dark hair as he focused intently on the glowing light before him. He extracted level 2 energy, raising his strength and agility significantly. A holographic display flickered with data as a thoughtful and analytical young man with dark hair pondered the intricacies of skill extraction. He realized that higher skill grades consumed more than he initially thought. A swirl of energy danced around a determined young man with dark hair as he examined his hands, feeling satisfied with his newfound abilities. He reflected on consuming his to extract powerful skills. Confidently, a determined young man with dark hair advanced, ready to unleash his enhanced abilities against his rival. He calculated his strength and agility, feeling unstoppable. A tense atmosphere enveloped the room as a strategic and focused young man with dark hair analyzed Song's actions on his phone. He noted that Song was wildly buying up life, questioning the implications. Determined, he calculated his running speed to Plaza, estimating the time it would take to arrive. A vibrating phone caught the attention of a curious and alert young man with dark hair. An urgent voice demanded Qin call back, stressing that he was ignoring the young lady's interest, which could be his fortune. Qin raised his phone to himself, revealing a blank screen, frustration etched across his features. In a darkened space, a determined young man with dark hair raised his glowing phone, curiosity flickering in his eyes as shadows danced around him. A determined young man with dark hair stood before an audience, his expression focused and confident. Qin revealed the truth about the game's dark nature. The crowd erupted in excitement, chanting the name of their admired hero, Song, as the atmosphere surged with energy. The atmosphere crackled with tension as elegant figures leaned forward, eagerly calling out for Song, their anticipation palpable. A concerned young woman expressed her worries about Shadow, mentioning that she heard he had been killed 3 times in the game. Qin listened attentively, feeling reassured by her support. A cunning plan unfolded as Qin inquired about the findings. The confident woman explained that she sent someone to town to negotiate. She added they would offer an irresistible deal. The cunning woman smirked confidently as she plotted to capture their rival, believing Song would teach him a lesson he'd never forget. Qin shared information with an unknown listener, revealing that industry used a method to control players and make them work for free. The cunning woman taunted the bound man, mocking the uselessness of others unable to gain more. A confident young man with dark hair smirked as he sat back, radiating self-assuredness while observing the unfolding chaos around him. Qin confronted Song in front of an anxious crowd, his voice ringing with fury as he warned against selling recklessly. A confident young man with dark hair smirked, noting that someone had arrived to stir up trouble. A concerned young man with dark hair stood on stage, addressing the audience with a microphone in hand. Song expressed regret for causing inconvenience to others. A passionate younger character interrupted, insisting he had done nothing wrong. Qin delivered a heartfelt speech to his fans, expressing gratitude for their support while urging them to pursue positivity together. A solemn atmosphere enveloped the audience as a young man with dark hair expressed genuine remorse for the trouble he had caused. A desperate young man with dark hair shouted for his brother, his voice filled with anguish and confusion. A young woman cried out for her brother, heartbroken and lost. A tense confrontation erupted as a determined young man with dark hair yelled at the crowd, demanding they recognize his brother's sincerity. A furious woman shouted at a younger man, questioning his judgment and criticizing his belief in unfounded rumors. A determined young man with dark hair expressed his willingness to sacrifice himself for his brother. Moments later, he proclaimed his love for Song amidst an excited crowd. A young woman with tears in her eyes declared her deep affection for a supportive and kind-hearted man, expressing her willingness to sacrifice everything for him. A single tear rolled down his cheek, revealing Qin's vulnerability amidst the emotional turmoil. A vibrant beam of light shot forward, cutting through the darkness. A powerful energy blast surged from a determined young man with dark hair. A confident young man with dark hair stood on stage, addressing a nervous woman in a red dress. A tense silence filled the air as a group of women reacted with shock to an unseen event. A sudden alarm flickered across his face. Qin sensed an unseen threat lurking nearby. Blood stained his lips as Qin's shocked expression revealed his fear of an unseen threat. A determined young man with dark hair stared down a nervous woman, their faces inches apart, tension crackling in the air. A shocked woman stared at the man leaning over her, his expression lifeless and unresponsive. A terrified woman stood over a fallen man, her shock palpable in the air. She screamed, overwhelmed by the horror of the scene before her. Qin lay on the ground, anguish twisting his features as he cried out for Brother Song, panic gripping his heart. A wave of despair washed over Qin as he screamed about Brother Song's death. Then, a determined guardian instructed others to secure the young lady's exit. Panic surged through the group as they urged each other to escape the chaos surrounding them. Qin insisted they had to run immediately. An anxious witness explained that a ball of lifelight had appeared after Song's death. A tense atmosphere enveloped the group as they pondered the implications of using game skills in real life. An anxious character questioned whether such skills could truly exist outside the game. A calculated figure considered the consequences of exploiting these powers for personal gain. Another character nodded in agreement, sharing their apprehension about the mysterious skills. A surge of power emanated from a determined and powerful man as he unleashed a glowing blue beam toward the target. The injured and vulnerable figure was struck, splattering dark liquid across the ground. A tense energy filled the air as a determined man unleashed a jolt of electricity toward a target, surrounded by figures scrambling to escape. The frightened onlookers gasped, realizing the danger they faced. A powerful man conjured swirling blue energy, standing resolutely as others fled in panic behind him. If you'd like to see your favorite titles retold, leave a comment, and I'll be sure to pick some of them up from time to time. Also, let me know which video format you like more, long videos or short ones. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you again soon.